unforgettable memory in our lives. So now it is not necessary even to mention that our whole world is going through an unforeseen cataclysm, I would say. But that's how your life goes on. You may go through hard times, and trust me, one day you will see the shining light too. So what makes you stronger is your positive thinking and your big heart. So today, it's my great pleasure to meet you all who are having big hearts. Thank you all for joining us today. Along with that, now I would like to kindly request a minute to warmly welcome our esteemed invitees today, including Venerable Thero and our Venerable Father, and Vice Chancellor of the University of Kelaniya, Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva. I think she's in another parallel conference at the moment, but Madam will join us soon. And Vice Chancellor of the University of Colombo, Senior Professor Chandrika N. Vijayaratna. Dean, Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya, Senior Professor Janaki De Silva Heva Vicente. Dean, Faculty of Arts, University of Colombo, Senior Professor Lasantha Manavaduge. Former Dean, Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya, Senior Professor Rajitha Vikramasinghe. Dear Sir and dear Madam, it is a great honor for all of us to have you at this conference with us. Thank you so much for joining us with this conference. And also all the senior professors and academic members of the two universities and other state universities. Eminent keynote speaker, keynote speaker today, Professor Fiona Kumari Campbell, and our distinguished speakers and presenters, and also members of the academic staff and non-academic staff, members of disability organizations and disability rights activists, and the parents and their family members, and our dear students. So you all are warmly welcome to Access to and Through Education Conference 2021. And thank you so much for your support and your participation. Tharika. Tharika. Okay, Shiva, over to you.
அனைவருக்கும் மிகவும் இனிமையான காலை வணக்கங்கள். இன்று 23 ஆவணி 2021 நாம் மருத்துவபீடம் கலனி பல்கலைக்கழகமும் கலைப்பீடம் கொழும்பு பல்கலைக்கழகம் இணைந்து உங்களுக்கு இந்த மாநாட்டை மிகவும் பெருமையோடு வழங்கிக் கொள்கின்றோம். Access to and Through Educational Conference 2021 அனைவரையும் அன்போடு வரவேற்றுக் கொள்கின்றோம். இந்த தனித்துவமான ஒன்று கூடலுக்கு நீங்கள் அனைவரும் இணைந்தது மிகவும் மகிழ்ச்சியான ஒரு தருணமாக இருக்கின்றது. இந்த முழு உலகமும் தற்போது எதிர்நோக்கி கொண்டிருக்கின்ற நெருக்கடியை பற்றி நாம் இங்கு குறிப்பிட வேண்டிய அவசியம் இல்லை, அது அனைவருக்கும் தெரிந்தது. இந்த காலகட்டத்தில் நமது நேர்மறையான சிந்தனைகளும் பரந்த ஒரு மனப்பான்பும் தான் எமக்கு உறுதியை அளிக்கக்கூடியது. அந்த வகையிலே இந்த மாநாட்டிற்கு இணைந்து கொண்ட அனைத்து அன்பான இதயங்களுக்கும் மிகவும் மகிழ்ச்சியையும் வரவேற்பையும் தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கின்றோம். அத்தோடு இந்த நிமிடத்தில் நமது பிரதம விருந்தினர்களான மதிப்பிற்குரிய துணைவேந்தர் கலனி பல்கலைக்கழகம் சிரேஷ்ட பேராசிரியர் நிலந்தி டி சில்வா அவர்களையும், கொழும்பு பல்கலைக்கழகம் துணைவேந்தர் சிரேஷ்ட பேராசிரியர் மதிப்பிற்குரிய சந்திரிகா என் விஜயரத்ன அவர்களையும், பீடாதிபதி மருத்துவ பீடம் கலனி பல்கலைக்கழகம் சிரேஷ்ட பேராசிரியர் மதிப்பிற்குரிய ஜானகி டி சில்வா ஹேவா விசந்தி அவர்களையும், பீடாதிபதி கலைப்பீடம் கொழும்பு பல்கலைக்கழகம் சிரேஷ்ட பேராசிரியர் மதிப்பிற்குரிய லசந்த மனவதுகி அவர்களையும், முன்னாள் பீடாதிபதி மருத்துவ பீடம் கலனி பல்கலைக்கழகம் சிரேஷ்ட பேராசிரியர் மதிப்புக்குரிய ரஜித்த விக்ரமசிங்க அவர்களையும் உங்கள் அனைவரையும் பெருமையோடும் மதிப்போடும் வரவேற்றுக் கொள்கின்றோம். அத்தோடு இந்த மாநாட்டில் இணைந்து கொண்ட அனைத்து பேராசிரியர்கள், கொழும்பு பல்கலைக்கழகம், கலனி பல்கலைக்கழகம் மற்றும் அனைத்து பல்கலைக்கழகத்தை சார்ந்த அனைவரையும் அன்போடு வரவேற்றுக் கொள்கின்றோம். கல்விசார் அங்கத்தவர்கள் மற்றும் இன்றைய மாநாட்டிற்கான பேச்சாளர் பேராசிரியர் ஃபியோனா குமாரி கேம்பல் அவர்களையும், இன்றைய மாநாட்டின் தனித்துவமான மற்ற பேச்சாளர்கள் உங்கள் அனைவரையும், கல்விசார அங்கத்தவர்கள், இயலாமை துறை சார்ந்த அமைப்புகள், செயற்பாட்டாளர்கள் உங்கள் அனைவரையும் மிகவும் அன்போடு வரவேற்றுக் கொள்கின்றோம். தாரிகா.
හැමෝටම සුබෝදෑසනක් කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා. අපි තාරිකා සම්බන්ධ වෙනකන් අපි පොඩි වෙලාවක් ගමු. ඒ සම්බන්ධ වෙනකන් මම කැමති අද මේ සමුළු සඳහා සහභාගී වෙච්ච සියලු දෙනාම ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් පිළිගන්නට මම මුලින් සඳහන් කළා වගේ කැලණි විශ්වවිද්‍යාලය සහ කොළඹ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලය එකතු වෙලා කරන මේ සමුළුව Access to and Through Education Conference 2021 සඳහා සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඉන්න සියලුම දෙනාව අපි ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් මේ අවස්ථාවේදී පිළිගන්නවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම අපේ ගෞරවනීය ස්වාමින් වහන්සේත් ඒ වගේම අපේ පියතුමන් ඇතුළු ගෞරවනීය ආරත් අමුත්තන් සියලු දෙනාම. ඒ අතරට මම කැමති එකතු කරන්නට විශේෂයෙන්ම උපකලපති කැලණි විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ ज्येष्ठ महाचार्य निलांती डी सिल्वा मैडम, ඒ වගේම කොළඹ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ උපකුලපති ज्येष्ठ महाचार्य චන්ද්‍රිකා එන් විජයරත්න, ඒ වගේම කැලණි විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ වෛද්‍ය පීඨයේ පීඨාධිපති ज्येष्ठ महाचार्य ජානකී डी සිල්වා හේවා විසෙන්ති, ඒ වගේම කැලණි කොළඹ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ කලා පීඨයේ पीठाधिपति ज्येष्ठ महाचार्य लसंत मानवडु सर, ඒ වගේම අපේ කැලණි විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ රාගම වෛද්‍ය පීඨයේ අපේ කලින් හිටපු former dean ज्येष्ठ महाचार्य රාජිත වික්‍රමසිංහ සර්වත් ඉතාම ගෞරවයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා. සර් මැඩම් ඔයගලන්ගේ සහභාගීත්වය අපිත් එක්ක අද එකතු කිරීම අපිට ගොඩාක් ලොකු ගෞරවයක්. අපි ඒක ඉතාම අගය කොට සලකනවා. ඒ වගේම අපි කැමති අපේ ज्येष्ठ මහාචාර්යවරුන් සහ අධ්‍යයන කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයෙන් සියලු දෙනාව පිළිගන්නට කැලණිය විශ්වවිද්‍යාලය සහ කොළඹ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ. ඒ වගේම අද අපිත් එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වෙන මහාචාර්ය ෆියෝනා කුමාරි කැම්බෙල් මැඩම්වත් අපි පිළිගන්නවා ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන්. ඒ වගේම අද සහ හෙට මේ තියෙන වැඩමුළුවත් එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඉන්න විශේෂ ආරාධිත අමුත්තන් සහ ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නන් වගේම අනන්දින කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයේ විශ්වවිද්‍යාල දෙකේම අනන්දින කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයේ මහත්වරුන්, ඒ වගේම අපේ දෙමාපියන් සහ ඔවුන්ගේ පවුල්වල සියලුම දෙනාව, ඒ වගේම අපිත් එක්ක අද සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඉන්නවා අපේ ශිෂ්‍ය ශිෂ්‍යාවනුත්. ඉතින් Access to and Through Education Conference 2021 මේ කන්ෆරන්ස් එකට සමුළුවට අපි ඔයගොල්ලෝ සියලු දෙනාම ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් සහ ආදරයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා. අපි දන්නවා ගොඩාක් රාජකාරී බහුල වැඩ රාජකාරී මැදේ සම්බන්ධ වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ කාර්ය බහුල වෙලාවක වුණත් අපිත් එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වීම සහ ඔබගේ සහභාගීත්වය සහයෝගය ලබා දීම ගැන අපි බෙහෙවින් ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. සියලු දෙනාම ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් මම නැවතත් පිළිගන්නවා. Okay, right. So now, first of all, I think on behalf of the Center for Disability Studies and especially representing the organizing committee of this conference, I would like to invite Dr. Shamini Hettiarachchi to address the gathering.
தற்போது இயலாமை கற்கை மத்திய நிலையத்தின் சார்பாகவும் இந்த மாநாட்டின் ஒருங்கிணைப்பாளர்கள் சார்பாகவும் மதிப்புக்குரிய டாக்டர் ஷாமினி ஹெட்டியாராச்சி அவர்களை அன்போடு அழைக்கின்றோம் ஒரு சில வார்த்தைகள் பேசுமாறு.
අපි අද සමුළුවේ පළවෙනි විශේෂ කතාව සම්බන්ධව මම ආරාධනා කරන්නට කැමතියි. කැලණි විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ රාගම් වෛද්‍ය පීඨයේ ආබාධිත අධ්‍යයන අංශයේ කතිකාචාර්ය ආචාර්ය ශාමිනී හෙට්ටිආරච්චි මැඩම්ට අපේ සමුළුව ආමන්ත්‍රණය කරන ලෙස.
Thank you, Isuru and Shiva. Reverend Sutadara joining us all the way from America. Sister Greta from Sehig, and all members of clergy of Kelaniya and Colombo, my Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, the Dean of the Faculty of Arts in Colombo, senior professors, Professor Rajitha Wickramasinghe and Professor Kalinga Mudali, current Dean of the Faculty of Science, all academic staff, members of the non-academic staff, members of representing disability rights organizations from all across the country, and parents, activists, researchers, and students. On behalf of the organizing committee, I take our very first little conference, access to and through education.
May I have your attention, please? We'll wait for a minute. Let's see. Okay, let's continue. Now I would like to cordially invite the Vice Chancellor of the University of Kelaniya, Senior Professor Nilanthi D. Silva. Dear Madam, you are cordially invited to address the gathering now.
தற்போது துணைவேந்தர் கலனி பல்கலைக்கழகம் சிரேஷ்ட பேராசிரியர் மதிப்புக்குரிய நிலந்தி டி சில்வா அவர்களை ஒரு சில வார்த்தைகள் பகிர்ந்து கொள்ளுமாறு அன்போடு வரவேற்றுக் கொள்கின்றோம்.
Now, as I told you earlier, I think Nilanthi madam is in another parallel session right now, so she will join us soon. Now, I would like to warmly welcome the Vice Chancellor of the University of Colombo, Senior Professor Chandrika N. Vijayaratna. Dear Madam, you are cordially invited to address the gathering.
தற்போது மதிப்பிற்குரிய துணைவேந்தர் கொழும்பு பல்கலைக்கழகம் சந்திரிகா என் விஜயரத்ன அவர்களை இந்த மாநாடு சார்பாக ஒரு சில வார்த்தைகள் ஆற்றுமாறு அன்போடு வரவேற்றுக் கொள்கின்றோம்.
Good morning, Ayubowan. Can I be heard, please?
Yes, madam.
Thank you. Vice Chancellors, Deans of both the universities as well as the academic staff and our keynote speaker, as well as all our students, their parents and stakeholders. On behalf of the University of Colombo, I would like to congratulate both the organizer teams from both institutes, both universities, for highlighting, taking this opportunity to highlight some of the important aspects of ensuring equitable education, particularly higher education in Sri Lanka. And on behalf of the University of Colombo, I wish to congratulate each and every one of you for having been able to join despite the current lockdown and the fact that many households, mind you, are afflicted by the disease. In that context, I would like to say that we are on the 18th month of trying to manage and keep the higher educational landscape of Sri Lanka on an equitable note through digitization. And in that context, again, I would like to acknowledge the fact that although we have not forgotten the students with disabilities and their special needs, the issue of the progress of each and every one of these students has been relatively, there are gaps and we still need to fill those gaps. In those terms, I'm very grateful to all the staff and students as well as parents and stakeholders for supporting our institutions to carry on regardless, but well appreciating that we need to pay special attention to these very aspects, at least within the next 3 months. I do appreciate that many a parent would not like to send their students, their children, for more intensive environment of learning that we were planning to provide from time to time in between the waves of the pandemic. On the one hand, we all have the fear of the disease and catching the disease, particularly those with disabilities, where we might miss the fact that they are afflicted, as much as the issue of needing on-site learning aspects to some of those who have special problems with the digitized systems. So I truly empathize with all our students not only in these two universities, but elsewhere in Sri Lanka, their parents and well-wishers. And I would really like to make a plea from both the special needs centers that have been linked to this conference to explore ways and methods to tell our policymakers and planners how we can bridge this gap soon. So I look forward to joining you from time to time. And I thank Dr. Tharindi Udalagama, the current director of the CEDREP in Colombo in the Faculty of Arts and the Dean of Arts. And I would also like to appreciate the fact that we have a Faculty of Medicine and a Faculty of Arts representing a much wider field, coming together, joining hands to address this issue. So thank you. May I wish all of you the best of health and safety, and also excellent deliberations and recommendations for us to move forward. Many thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you. Your valuable thoughts are very important for all of us. Thank you so much. My next invitation goes to the Senior Professor Janaki D. Silva Heva Vicente, Dean, Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya. Dear Madam.
බොහොම ස්තුතියි ඔබතුමියට. මීළඟට අපි සූදානම් අපේ මේ සමුළුවේ තවත් එක්සවිශේෂී අවස්ථාවක් සඳහා යොමු වන්න. ඉතින් ඒ සඳහා අපි ඉතාමත් ගෞරවනීයව ආරාධනා කර සිටිනවා කැලණිය විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ වෛද්‍ය පීඨයේ පීඨාධිපතිතුමිය ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ මහාචාර්ය ජානකී හේවාවිසන්ති මහත්මියට මේ අවස්ථාවට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඔබතුමියගේ අදහස් අපත් සමග බෙදා හදා ගන්න ලෙසට.
கலனி பல்கலைக்கழகம் சிரேஷ்ட பேராசிரியர் மதிப்புக்குரிய ஜானகி டி சில்வா ஹேவா விசந்தி அவர்களை ஒரு சில வார்த்தைகள் ஆற்றுமாறு அன்போடு வரவேற்றுக் கொள்கின்றோம்.
Good morning, everybody. Vice Chancellor Professor Chandrika Vijayaratne, Professor Nilanthi De Silva, and all the other senior professors who are joining with us today, and all the distinguished guests and the keynote speakers, the staff of the Disability Studies Unit and the Faculty of Humanities, Colombo, and parents and all other members who have joined. Thank you very much for affording me this opportunity to speak a few words today. I'm afraid I do not have much experience with this particular conference and event, but I do know that from time to time, the Disability Studies Unit of the Faculty of Medicine keep me updated on the progress that they make with regard to their endeavors with regard to differently abled students. And I know how much commitment and dedication goes into their day-to-day activities. So this is basically, I think, one of their crowning moments, bringing all this together. But there's one thing that strikes me as a very positive outcome of this endeavor, and that is the collaboration between two major higher education institutes in this country, which is, I think, one of the ways forward in higher education, plus the fact that, as Professor Vijayaratne mentioned earlier on, the collaboration between medical and humanities. Medical humanities is something that is coming into the forefront now. It has been around in the world, and I think Colombo took the lead in having a humanities department in the Faculty of Medicine, which is a very, very proactive and progressive thing to have done. And perhaps this is again another facet of that kind of collaboration, which I strongly welcome. I do not have to reiterate the fact that how timely this event is, because this is something we need to look at. Again, Professor Vijayaratne quite clearly stated its importance and the importance of many recommendations and probably guidelines coming out of this conference, which may enable us to ensure that there is equity and equality for all. As administrators, I'm sure all the others who are here with me, the deans of the faculties and the vice chancellors, know what a struggle we are going through to provide equal and fair education to all our students, leave alone the differently able students. But as she mentioned, I don't think we should forget them for even a moment and try to ensure that we provide them with the best of facilities to the best of our abilities in the current COVID pandemic. So without further ado, I wouldn't take much time. All I would like to do is to wish you all the very best for this conference. And I too hope to join this conference from time to time, depending on the schedule. And I just wish everybody good luck and hope this conference becomes a success. I'm sure it will be. Thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Madam. Now, our Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva, Madam, is here with us. So therefore, now I would like to cordially invite the Vice Chancellor of the University of Kelaniya, Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva. Dear Madam, you are cordially invited to address the gathering.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Chandrika Wijeratne, Vice Chancellor of the University of Colombo, Professor Manavadu, Dean of the Faculty of Arts of the University of Colombo, Professor Janaki Hevavicenti, Dean of the Faculty of Medicine of our University, Professor Fiona Kumari Campbell, keynote speaker for this morning and somebody who I have known for a long time, and Dr. Shamini Hettiarachchi and Dr. Dumini De Silva, the joint conference organizers, other distinguished invitees and invited speakers, panelists, fellow academics, and conference participants. It really gives me great pleasure to speak a few words today, this morning, on the occasion of the inauguration of this conference on access to and through education, which is jointly organized by the universities of Kelaniya and Colombo. As Professor Janaki Hevavicenti pointed out a few minutes ago, I'm really truly delighted that our two universities, both of which are leading state universities in our country, and two faculties that deal with disparate subjects, medicine and humanities, perhaps not so disparate as Janaki said also, have come together to discuss this matter, that of equity and equality of access to education and how that impacts on access to the world outside of our education sector. I'd like to remind conference participants that very soon after our medical faculty was established 30 years ago, Professor Carlo Fonseca, our founding dean of the medical faculty, created a disability studies unit, and thereby he laid the foundation for the establishment of our Department of Disability Studies, the only one of its kind in Sri Lanka. Over the years, the staff of our DSU and then subsequently the DDS have worked tirelessly to improve the lives of Sri Lankans with disabilities. We now have a whole spectrum of health professionals who work in many different ways to enable children and adults with disabilities to lead their lives to their full potential. Unfortunately, I think we have only touched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to inclusiveness and equity and equality of access to education for all the children and young people who desire to gain that access. This was so even before the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, but and that has greatly exacerbated all of the inequalities that we saw even before. As Professor Chandrika Wijeratne reminded us, we have now been relying on online education for a long while, more than a year, now maybe 18 months or so. We all know that a large proportion of our children, and I'm not talking only about university students here, I'm talking about children in our school system as well. We know that large proportion of them, especially those people who are from the low income segments of our society, just don't have access to the electronic devices and the connectivity that is required for online education. And this is even more so for children with special needs. We need to be particularly conscious of the need for an inclusive approach in all that we do, because all too often the needs of students with disabilities are left out of the picture completely. At the same time, I want to remind you that Sri Lanka is a developing country with limited resources, and our resources have become even more limited as a result of the economic difficulties that have been precipitated by the pandemic. Therefore, we must be mindful that in talking about equity and equality of access to education, we need to be practical and pragmatic. I know that some of you may not agree with the utilitarian view that the right thing to do is the thing that benefits the greatest number of people in a community. And yet, sometimes when it comes to hard decision making on how to make optimal use of the little resources that we have, we need to think carefully about what measures are most likely to bring about the greatest good. It may mean that we need to choose between focusing our time, our energy, and our money on conditions like less obvious disabilities like dyslexia that probably affect large numbers of children, as against some much other rarer condition that causes dramatic, overt physical disability. It may mean that we need to figure out if we should prioritize the development of locally relevant tools for the diagnosis of dyslexia and to strengthen our capacity to support children with learning disabilities, or if we should prioritize installation of lifts that cost millions of rupees in each multi-story building in order to provide wheelchair accessibility. I know the choice is never as stark as that, but the reality is that every day, every year, we are indeed forced to prioritize on what we spend our time, our energy, and our funds. I certainly don't have the right answers to such dilemmas, but I hope that conferences like this will provide a forum for discussions and deliberations that will help us to figure out the answers that are locally relevant. I hope that your deliberations today and tomorrow will help us to move steadily towards a more inclusive, accessible, and equal society in our country. I'd like to end by thanking Dr. Shyamini Hettiarachchi and Ms. Dumini De Silva for the tireless efforts that they have made to organize this conference on behalf of our university. So thank you, and I wish you all the very best in the coming 2 days of discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam. It is a great honor to have you at this conference. So thank you so much. And now, on behalf of the Department of Center for Disability Studies and representing the organizing committee of this conference today, now my next invitation goes to the Dean, Faculty of Arts, University of Colombo, Senior Professor Lasantha Manavadu. Dear sir, may I please kindly invite you to address the gathering and share your thoughts.
Yes, good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me for this important event, inauguration of this conference organized by the CDS CCSD of the University of Kelaniya, together with the CEDREP of the University of Colombo. Madam Vice Chancellors of the University of Kelaniya and the University of Colombo, Dean, Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya, Directors of the centers, organizing committee members, today keynote speaker, and distinguished guests, and dear students. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate to the organizing committee for the effort they made to make this event happen. Despite of the COVID pandemic situation, at least online mode. Thank you very much for your effort and the commitment to make this, organizing this conference with some kind of collaboration between the University of Colombo and the University of Kelaniya. Actually, we have nearly 100 disabled students in our faculty. Also, every year we receive another 25 plus disabled students. Actually, this year we have received 36 disabled students with different disabilities. With these statistics, I would like to focus the situation in my faculty. The Faculty of Arts, University of Colombo has committed to provide access to education for students with disability for some years, some time. We facilitate a special intake for students with disabilities each academic year. Our vision has been to develop support and facilities to accommodate students with disability reasonably in our undergraduate programs. In keeping with this vision, we obtain a World Bank grant to develop our support center for students with disabilities. The Center for Disability Research, Education and Practice, that is CEDREP, was also established to promote disability studies and encourage research in the area of disability. Our progress has been slowed down during the last couple of months due to this pandemic, but we are hopeful to serve our students with disabilities better and make education more accessible for them. Yes, once again, with these very few words, once again, I would like to congratulate the organizing committee for their commitment to organize a conference of this caliber under all the difficulties and limitations posed by the pandemic. I wish you all the best and hope you will have a very successful conference today and tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear sir. Now, again, on behalf of the Center for Disability Studies and special representing the organizing committee of this conference, I would like to invite Dr. Shamini Hettiarachchi to address the gathering. Dear Madam.
Thank you, Isuru. So as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by Zoom, not completely unintentional, but perhaps highlighting, nevertheless, issues of access that I have grappled with over the last year and a half. So as I was saying, on behalf of the conference organizing committee, I take immense pleasure in welcoming you all to our first little conference, Access to and Through Education, between our university, the University of Kelaniya, and the University of Colombo, which is a collaboration of 3 sister centers, the Center for Disability Studies and the Coordinating Center for Students with Disabilities at the University of Kelaniya, together with the Center for Disability Research, Education and Practice of the University of Colombo. Now, access to education, or the lack thereof, for students with disabilities and or disadvantage is not a new concept. In spite of Article 24 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, recognizing the right to education, a convention that has been ratified by the Sri Lankan government. From the alarming global statistics suggesting that a staggering 90% of children with disabilities across the world are excluded from education as per UNESCO findings, and an equally staggering statistic of 129 million girls denied access to education, according to UNICEF reports, a fact with current renewed resonance within the backdrop of Afghanistan. The intersectional factors such as gender, socioeconomic status, and disability among other factors, as well as the dominant explanatory models of disability and the overall expectations or the lack of expectations of students with disabilities, I think combine to deter access to formal education. Now, as we know, education plays a pivotal role, not only in access to knowledge and skills, but as a segue into enabling access to the right to employment and thereby socioeconomic currency and social security, political participation, and participation in the community as active, engaged, productive citizenry. Amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, this also includes equal and equitable access to healthcare, including health messaging and treatment facilities. Given my own family's experience of COVID-19, both within my family and in my neighborhood, the nexus between poverty, disability, and healthcare access has become abundantly clear to me, particularly over the last 2 weeks. As each one of us grapples with the existential crisis posed by COVID-19, we have also been confronted by the unprecedented global challenge to education at primary, secondary, and tertiary levels, as both vice chancellors very clearly pointed out. Now, the introduction of online teaching learning activities with mutual connectivity issues amply reflected by my own lack of connectivity today, large data consumption and continuous eye strain, among other factors, has brought into stark focus the existing inequalities of access to education for students with disabilities, with more and more students being, quote unquote, left behind. And this is a point that Professor Nilanthi made as well. The lack of sign language support during online classes, the speed of lecture delivery that disallows lip reading or speech reading, the accessibility or inaccessibility of documents uploaded onto CAL and other platforms, etc., have exacerbated prevailing inequalities. But I think that unprecedented times and complex challenges require innovative, novel solutions generated through intra-faculty, inter-university, and cross-organizational dialogue and collaboration in a spirit of collective action. Taking the point that Professor Nilanthi was making, we are often confronted by the challenge of priorities and the ideological stance of not wanting to exclude anyone. And so here is our opportunity to critically reflect together and come up with some sustainable solutions. So the conference is a call to action. It hopes to offer a safe space in which to debate, discuss, deliberate, dissent, the latter being a right that we want to continue to champion within academia in the current climate, and delve deep into the complex, nuanced nature of equity and equality of access to education, a specific focus on university education, affording an opportunity to learn from each other and to co-imagine innovative, timely, and sustainable solutions that lead to a slightly more empathetic and equal society, remembering our collective responsibility to one another and heartened by Malala Yousafzai's words that one child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Now with that, we are going to mark the end of our welcome ceremony of this collaborative conference today. So we hope to discuss more and share valuable thoughts and ideas throughout this conference. So this would be the perfect platform for all our researchers, academic staff, students, and especially policymakers to engage in critical discussions on topics related to equity and equality of access to education and beyond. So all the very best, and we hope to have a fruitful two-day conference. So along with that, now we are going to move, or we are moving to the first main event of our agenda today. So for that, I would like to warmly invite Ms. Dinukshi Ileperuma, Head of the Department of Disability Studies, Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya, to address the gathering.
බොහොම ස්තුතියි ඔබතුමියට. ඉතින් අද දවසේදී මෙලෙස කැලණි විශ්වවිද්‍යාලය එක්ව සංවිධානය කරන මෙම සමුළුවේ සමාරම්භක අවස්ථාවේ අවසානයේ වෙතටයි අපි හැමදේම ආබාධ සහිත දරුවන්ට අද දවස සහ අද සහ හෙට යන දෙදින පුරාවට පැවැත්වෙන මෙම සමුළුව ඉතාමත් හොඳ තෝතැන්නක් වේවි. ඔවුන්ට ඇතිවෙන ප්‍රශ්න ගැටලු සහ ඔවුන්ගේ සම්මානාත්මතාවය පිළිබඳ විශේෂයෙන් අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමවේදය ඔස්සේ කතා කිරීමේදී කතා බහ කරන්නට, සාකච්ඡා කරන්නට. ඉතින් වැඩි වේලා නොගෙන මම අවස්ථාව ලබා දෙනවා මෙම අවස්ථාවේදී කැලණි විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ වෛද්‍ය පීඨයේ ආබාධිත අධ්‍යයන අංශයේ අංශාධිපතිතුමිය දිනුක්ෂි ඉලේපෙරුම මැතිණියට ස්ථාවරට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඔබතුමියගේ අදහස් ඉදිරිපත් කරන ලෙසට.
அத்தோடு இந்த வரவேற்பு நிகழ்வினை முடித்துக் கொண்டு நிச்சயமாக இந்த மாநாடு சமத்துவமான கல்வி பற்றிய பல விடயங்களை பகிர்ந்து கொள்வதற்கு மிகவும்